Hello everyone, this is Ishan here. Today I'll be talking about The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD, which was announced on November 12th and will soon be released for the Wii U on March 4th, 2016. The purpose of this video is to determine what changes have already been made with the HD port, along with the gameplay improvements Nintendo should consider when coming from the original version. Let's get the most minimalistic aspect of any video game out of the way first, and that's the visuals. I will admit that the first time I laid eyes on the HD trailer, I thought it was looking at the original game. However, my mindset was focused from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D, which were actual remakes and not just ports. If you have not played Twilight Princess, I highly recommend you play it before continuing on with this video. With that said, let's get started. Looking back at the reactions, it's baffling to me how so many viewers expected more graphically from Twilight Princess HD. The term high definition is meant to upscale a video while adding a high degree of detail. High definition does not mean a different art style. This is the original Twilight Princess. This is what people expected Twilight Princess HD to look like. This is only a tech demo similar to Space War 2000, and in this case the Wii U would have not been able to pull this off. Like any HD port going into PS3, PS4, PC and so on, Twilight Princess HD manages to fulfill the properties of what an HD port should be. It improves the textures to make it look more detailed, it reduced bloom to put emphasis on color, and the muddiness is gone to make the game look sharper. The best part about this port in a visual standpoint is that it does not change the art style of Twilight Princess. When comparing the graphics of the Wind Waker and Wind Waker HD, I am part of the minority here and say that the original version looks better than the Wii U port. Not to say Wind Waker HD is inherently bad, if anything it's the definitive version thanks to its gameplay, but the art style should have been left untouched. Adding bloom and extra lighting can be an eyesore after playing it for a while compared to the original, which seemed more relaxed with color. Gradient was also added to models and textures, but that took away the simplicity that the original art style had in the first place. Twilight Princess HD didn't need to look simpler with graphics. All it needed to do was take the original art style and fix the problems the general audience had. And hopefully some will realize that and understand what they are getting is an HD port with minor differences, not entirely a remake. With graphics out of the question, what else do we already know about Twilight Princess HD? We know that Link is left-handed, which means the game will borrow the geography from the GameCube version. We know that the gamepad will be included for faster item management and manual camera control like Wind Waker HD. On top of that, the mini-map is shown on the bottom left of the screen, which seems completely unnecessary if you are playing with the gamepad. Generally, the map will be displayed on the gamepad along with the subscreen. However, if the mini-map is shown on screen, that can only mean the Pro Controller is also compatible. I would like to imagine that despite Link being left-handed in the game, the Wii Remote and Nunchuck would still be compatible for those who prefer the Wii version. Of all Wii games, the motion controls for Twilight Princess never seem to intrude the gameplay because majority of the time, the player just needs to wag the Wii Remote back and forth. That change may not happen, but will at least be good as an option. Lastly, it seems like the HD version will allow the player to hold up to 3 items at a time, moving Midna to the directional pad. While it isn't as large as the Wii version, where you can hold up to 4 items, it's still more than the GameCube version, which only allowed up to 2 items at a time. Before I list off the changes that Nintendo should make with Twilight Princess HD, there are some exceptions. Firstly, the narrative of a Zelda game has to remain the same from the original. Many were disappointed on how underutilized Zant was when players realized he was just a servant of Ganondorf. The fact that Ganondorf is on the front cover of the HD port fleshes Zant's character even more, because new players now know that Zant is not the main antagonist. With that said, the story will remain unchanged. Secondly, any sort of content cannot be cut from the game, which leads to the first major change. The tutorials in the beginning is probably what hurts the game the most. There are some fetch quests in Ordon Village and it takes about 90 minutes just to get to the first dungeon. If we separate the first wolf segment from the tutorials, then it might take 30 to 45 minutes until the story picks up. The worst part is that the tutorials don't really add up to anything remarkable, just a small bond with Ilya and the understanding the motion controls. It's understandable to have these tutorials in the Wii version because of the motion controls being brand new at the time, but veterans and GameCube players will soon grow tired of it and have a harder time replaying the game. Luckily, I found out that the items during the Ordon fetch quest are all optional for the game. The bottle, the fishing rod, and the slingshot are not needed until later on. The quest for the reed fish can be altered, and the small bugs in the forest temple can be removed. Maybe moving the fishing rod before the chapter towards Snow Peak and moving the slingshot right before the forest temple can be done as well. The point here is that these items are optional for the game, then so can the fetch quest of Ordon Village, giving us an option to skip these tutorials from the get-go. Speaking of the Slingshot, I should mention how early it is until the item gets obsolete. Only 2 dungeons in and the Slingshot already gets replaced by the bow and arrow. This can be fixed in one of 2 ways. Either give the Slingshot upgrade similar to Skyward Sword that gives us a reason to use the item again. Other than picking off bugs in the Forest Temple, I see no other reason why the Slingshot was included in the first place, with the only exception because it was an Ocarina of Time. I figured the bow and chain was as useless as a Megaton hammer from Ocarina of Time, but it does grant a coat of armor while dealing more damage than the current sword. The spinner, on the other hand, should get its speed increased. For being such an enjoyable and unique item in Twilight Princess, it doesn't get as much use outside of dungeons and when it's not going on rails. I can't say much about Wolf Link at this moment. All I can think of is for the developers to add extra combat for the wolf. This is especially noticeable when Wolf Link attacks an enemy and has to wait for them to get back up, only to be tackled again. It's just not as convenient. The only advantages Wolf Link has over Human Link is the ability to dig for items, talk to animals, and have a faster run speed. What I cannot stand, however, is being unable to transform between both forms only to find out that the NPCs might react to it. In Majora's Mask, if you equip one of the transformation masks, no one would react around you. This is really the downfall for Twilight Princess being the most realistic Zelda game because transferring between forms would scare off civilians. If NPCs were oblivious to this, then the transformation would go smoothly. Last but not least, maybe the most important change in Twilight Princess HD is this. Way too slow. Thank you all for watching. Please sure to leave in the comments section below what you want to see change for Twilight Princess HD. And while you're at it, be sure to check out one of my previous videos where I talk about the problems with Mega Man 2, one of the most overrated games of all time.